There's a moment most people don't notice, and it usually doesn't feel like a financial decision at all. It feels like convenience, a small upgrade, something harmless, something earned, a streaming service added after a long week, a productivity app that promises focus, a subscription box that feels like a reward. And none of these feel significant in isolation because each one is small, each one is justified, each one quietly fits into the rhythm of modern life without resistance. And over time, these decisions begin to stack, not dramatically, not in a way that triggers alarm, but gradually, almost invisibly, until one day the structure of your financial life has shifted without you realizing it. The core concept here is not about spending being inherently bad, but about the structure of recurring expenses. Because subscriptions are not one-time decisions, they are systems, and systems behave differently than isolated actions. When you buy something once, the cost is clear, immediate, and finite. But when you subscribe, the cost becomes continuous. It fades into the background. It becomes part of your baseline. And what's dangerous is not the amount itself, but the fact that it repeats without requiring renewed justification, which means your past decision keeps affecting your future without being questioned again. Psychologically, this works because of something subtle. The human brain is not designed to constantly reevaluate recurring small costs. It optimizes for stability and reduces friction wherever possible. So once a subscription is set, it becomes part of your mental normal, and normal rarely gets audited. This is why canceling something often feels harder than starting it, not because of the price, but because it disrupts a pattern, and humans tend to preserve patterns unless something forces a change. So what begins as a conscious choice slowly becomes an unconscious commitment, and over time, you stop seeing it as spending at all. Now, when you zoom into the math, the structure becomes clearer, because a single subscription of, say, $10 per month does not feel significant. But the moment you scale that across multiple services, the number changes, not dramatically at first, but steadily. $10 becomes $50, $50 becomes $150, and $150 becomes $1,800 per year. And this is where the system reveals itself, because $1,800 is no longer invisible, but by the time it reaches that level, it is already embedded in your lifestyle, already normalized, already justified across multiple categories that individually felt small, but collectively form a substantial financial weight. But the deeper layer is not just the total cost, it's the opportunity cost, because money is not static, it has potential. And when recurring expenses consume a portion of your income every single month, they don't just reduce your savings, they reduce your capacity to build, invest, or compound. And over long periods, this difference becomes structural, not because of one large decision, but because of many small ones that continuously extract from your future without drawing attention in the present. This is where the systemic perspective matters, because modern economies are increasingly designed around subscription models, not ownership, and this shift is not accidental. Subscriptions create predictable revenue for companies, but they also create predictable outflows for individuals. And when enough of your financial life is structured this way, your income is no longer something you fully control. It becomes partially pre-allocated before you even make a decision. And this changes the nature of financial freedom because it reduces flexibility, it limits optionality, and it locks you into a fixed cost structure that grows over time. What makes this particularly subtle is that subscriptions often provide real value. They are not useless. They improve convenience, they enhance experiences, they save time. And this is why they are difficult to challenge, because the question is not whether they are good or bad, but whether the system they create aligns with your long-term direction. And most people never evaluate this at a system level. They evaluate each subscription individually, which means the overall structure remains invisible. Over time, this leads to a quiet identity shift, where your financial life becomes optimized for maintaining existing subscriptions rather than building new assets. And this is not something you consciously choose. It emerges from the accumulation of small decisions, reinforced by convenience, sustained by habit, and rarely interrupted by reflection, until eventually, your income growth does not feel like progress because it is absorbed by an expanding baseline of recurring costs. The shift, then, is not about eliminating all subscriptions, but about changing how you see them. Instead of viewing them as isolated expenses, you begin to see them as part of a system that shapes your financial trajectory. And once you see the system, you gain the ability to redesign it, to question what is truly essential, to periodically reset your baseline, and to ensure that your recurring costs are intentional rather than automatic. Because in the end, the subscription trap is not about small amounts of money. It is about unnoticed systems, And the difference between drifting into a financial structure and consciously building one is often not defined by income, but by awareness, by the ability to recognize how small, repeated decisions accumulate into something much larger than they appear in the moment, and to adjust before the system becomes too rigid to change.